The Insta360 Go 3 firmware update has dropped. It's the latest version in early October 2023, and there are some very exciting changes to tell you about. In this video, I'm going to run through the main features you need to know about in this latest Go 3 update, my recommendation on whether to update or not, and a quick guide on how to install the Insta360 Go 3 firmware update on your device. Bit of a clue as to my recommendation there. Let's get into it. There are quite a few new features in this latest update for the Go 3 firmware update version 1.2.7. Let's go through them one by one, and I'll save what is potentially the biggest change till last. First, the face-based focus mode is available again as an icon for recording in regular video and free-frame modes. This is a welcome return, and you can see that it's a toggle here between face and matrix. Swipe left from the right edge of the touchscreen to see the shooting parameter settings to see the option come up. What you're choosing here is whether to expose your light settings to get the best exposure for the face of your subject, or a more blended exposure taking a wider view of what the light looks like in your frame. The second significant change here is that low light stabilization mode gets an icon on the ActionPod display in regular video and free frame modes. When activated, low light stabilization improves low light stabilization by reducing motion blur and jitter. You'll get a slightly less bright image, so you'll need to experiment to see what works for you. But it's great that this feature gets its own icon on the ActionPod screen without being too distracting. It's just much more accessible. Third up is a change that will be great news if you own a GPS action remote from Insta360. You can now connect that to the Go 3. But even better from my point of view, the Go 3 can now be controlled by your Apple Watch. This is a complete game changer for me, and I love it. I'm really looking forward to using the Go 3 with my Apple Watch, and I think it will really change how I use it, and I mean use it much more. Here's the fourth change. If you have an Insta360 Power Selfie stick, this is now supported by the Go 3. Another great way to not only keep your Go 3 topped up with power, but to be able to capture video and photos at your fingertips without having to reach for the camera itself. The fifth change I want to tell you about is that time-lapse mode has been updated, so you can now preview the time-lapse as it's recording and set the video duration length before shooting, seeing just how much footage you're going to get, pressing capture and having the Go 3 terminate the time-lapse capture at the end of the duration you set. Now, if you look at the bottom right of the screen here, there's also a helpful prompt for the type of scene that various intervals are suitable for as you scroll through the section. This is a super helpful optimization. Now, there's a bunch more minor changes, like the camera interface supporting 6 more languages: Malay, Indonesian, Vietnamese, Dutch, Polish, and Turkish. And you can now also mark key moments in your shots while recording to make it easier for editing later on. And from a security point of view, the camera's default Wi-Fi password has been reset to a random password. Here's the sixth biggest change that was a surprise for me, and maybe will be for you too. The Go 3 is now able to be used as a webcam, giving you 1080p and 30 frames per second while the camera unit is in the ActionPod. There's also a zoom facility too that you can toggle on and off. I'll be doing a longer video about how to use your Insta360 Go 3 as a webcam very soon, so be sure to subscribe and come back to watch that. So my recommendation is definitely to update your firmware. There's some really useful and valuable changes in this firmware update for your Go 3. It's a no-brainer yes to updating from me. Here's how to update your firmware via the Insta360 app on your phone or tablet. Now, before you start updating, make sure that the Go 3 and the ActionPod have at least 25% battery remaining. Connect the Go 3 to your Insta360 app. Now, the app will notify you if there's a new firmware update available, and then simply follow the on-screen instructions to update your firmware. Just a quick note that any saved time capture, Go 3 button and quick capture shooting settings will be changed back to the default after you've updated. So if you made any changes there, be sure to go back into those settings to make the changes you prefer. Be sure to come back for my guide on how to use the Insta360 Go 3 as your webcam in just a few days on my channel. In the meantime, check out these videos and I'll see you in the next one. Have fun out there.